Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guests are a dynamic duo that has graced Zedd, Hailee Seinfeld, Adam Lambert, Liam Payne, and a whole bunch more. You'll meet Smoking Hot Noise Club in just a second. First, there's the final two winners of the Warm Wednesday mic giveaway. The WA-84 small diaphragm mic goes to, drum roll, Corey Hawthorne of Vancouver, Canada. Congrats. And the WA-47 Junior FET black mic goes to Miss Misha Josephs from Brooklyn, New York. Congratulations to you both and to all the winners. And because of the phenomenal response, I mean, it was phenomenal, the good folks at Warm are cooking up another contest with us. Stay tuned. Keep tuning in. We'll announce that really soon. Thanks to Bryce Young, Royce Richmond, and all the Warm team. Great product by great people. Also, reminder, SWEETWATER GearFest, online only, June 26th and 27th. Still workshops, seminars, hourly giveaways, deals on gear, and the great Dave Pensado, that guy right there, he's going to do a special interview and a whole ton more. Head to sweetwater.com/GearFest for all the info you need. And finally, a big thanks. So much positive energy has come to us from folks thrilled with their SPLICE 100 pack. Creators, teachers, students, artists, even as far away as Peru. And we really love that kind of response. Phenomenal. You can get your SPLICE Pack 100 by doing this very simple thing. Click on this link, enter Pensado 101, and you're good. And it's free. Here's what you get. Access to sounds, software, and production tools. Tons of royalty-free samples, loops, effects, and presets. A mobile app to do it all on the go. Artist packs from Murder Beats and others. Global content from Senegal, Iceland, Capson Pro Audio. And most importantly, low pricing, starting as low as $7.99 a month. All from Splice Sounds. And then there's Splice Rent-to-Own program. How does that work? You buy, pay over time, you own it by the end. You get cool stuff like Isotopes Ozone, Serum, Arturio 5. You get RC20, Cashmere Essentials, plus Studio One workstation from PreSonus. So, one more week to enter, 100 uses for a month for free. Hit the link you see right here. Enter Pensado 101. Get creative right away. Rush. Don't delay. If you would, please like, subscribe, and click notify. Sign up for our newsletter or hit us at Dave Pensado, at Herb Trowick, or at Pensado's Place. And right now, a shop talk from the super talented, sushi-loving John Goldie Feldman.
Hello, Pensado's Place. It's John Feldman, producer, songwriter, engineer, all that good stuff. We're in my studio right now. This is, I have Travis Barker's vintage Ludwig set up. His kit. Got a bell brass right here. I like the wood beater for my kick drum. Give it that thick, punchy sound. I've got an SM7 in there for the close mic in the kick drum. I've got a SM56 on my snare. I've got 421s on the rack and floor. My moon gel to obviously get rid of the ring. I just actually cracked my splash and one of my crash cymbals, so I just replaced those right now with these great sounding Zildjian cymbals. I've got my private cue for everyone's mixing station. We got a little side snare for the ska and reggae stuff that I do. A China for all the metal that I do. And we've got this sort of tunnel, my kick drum tunnel on the kick right here, which so I've got my outside kick mic in here, and I've got the inside kick drum mic in way inside there. But this, I just keep it as tight and punchy as I can for my kick drum. So we've got this little homemade tunnel that I've always used when I record. I've got my my little beauty light that I actually took from my daughter. Just to make the drummers look great so they can feel just amazing during their performances. I can even figure out, oh, there it is right there. It doesn't, yeah. That was a full fail right there. My 251, I'm doing most of my vocals when I do rock vocal recording. I use my 251 here. I got my Coles for the room mics right here, which sound just super warm and spongy. I love them. Overheads. And then we walk into the control room. I've been doing all these live Goldfinger videos with my 58, which I use a mic modeler to turn it into this mic in Pro Tools. My Manly Hypercardioid, which I love for top end. I record all Goldfinger's vocals through this microphone, and a lot of pop vocals, female vocals. I use this one as well. My Les Paul, which I do most of my rhythm guitars through. I've got my Evertune on it, so I don't have to worry about tuning as much. I love the Schecter 5-string bass for the low end. We're using that on a lot of my kind of more metalcore recordings. I have my classic Ernie Ball over here, Axis, that I use. I've got an Evertune on this guy as well. So I've got this tuned to E flat standard for I'm making a Goldfinger record right now, so I'm using that on most of that. And then this is my writing guitar. I pretty much write every song I have on this Martin right here. It just sounds amazing. It's just got such vibe to it. And I just got this new Taylor, which I'm really grateful for. We've been jam sessions, which I love. And I've got this banjo right here, which is completely useless. Let's see what else. I've been doing a lot of reggae with the ukulele and some of the mandolin as well, which is cool. I just did a bunch of stuff on this Fender, Jaguar right here. I just did a bunch of clean stuff for this group Girlfriends I'm working on. It sounds amazing. I've got my diffuser over here, my little Labo diffuser, which makes my room smell so sexual. And then I have all my preamps right here. Vintech X73. I've got my outside my SM7 through this. I got my inside kick drum here, snare top, the 56 through this, the snare bottom, which is the blue mouse, through this one. I've got my the 473. I've got my two toms. I got my stereo rooms in the 473. All my vocals I run through this BAE 1073 model, and then my Kemper right here, which is basically what I'm recording all my guitars through these days. And then my Slate 1176 model right here, but I've got all these killer like distortion module, and I've got all these, like, it's just like a modded out 1176. I fucking love that thing. All my Pro Tools stuff over here, I run everything through this SSL right here through my as my bus compressor. I love it. I use the distressor for my butt mic, which is a Shure Bullet mic. I just have it behind the kit. I'll actually show it to you real quick. So I always use this as kind of my distortion, just to add like a nice warm distorted sound through my kit. It's right. I've got so many drummers farting in that thing. It's awful, god awful. And then, I created my studio with windows so I can see outdoors. I've got this reclaimed wood in the background right here as a diffuser, just to help with sound. I've got green glue underneath here, so my neighbors here in Calabasas, or as I like to call it, Calabasas, don't get pissed. We're about to start an album, so I just cleared off the chalkboard where we basically write all, sequence and titles of songs and all that great stuff right there. I got my crown, which is my dog's crown, because it was just my dog's birthday. And then we have the other side of the studio, which is the editing room and the lounge. And this is my lounge where, I make the best coffees of all time with my Miele machine, which is arguably the most important thing I own in my studio. I drink about 12 espressos a day, so I'm fucking always, let's go, ramped. All these plaques I'm very grateful to have. Dylan and Josh chilling here, doing some editing. And this is Zeus. And with that, hopefully that's fast enough tour. Thank you, Pensado's Place, for everything. Love you guys.
Chris Petrosino and Rob McCurdy make up the hit-making duo Noise Club. We caught up with them last week, had a great conversation, and we want to share it with you. Enjoy. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
So we've got Chris and Rob and brother Dave. I got to tell you, man, besides the fact that we're fans, Dave can pretty much go back and go through all your work and tell you everything about yourself, which he might do during the show. But one of the fun things about listening to you is you guys get more done with space. There's just the ability to have space be so musical and then support choruses coming in. Almost I'm happy when choruses come in on your work because I feel relieved. Like your space just keeps me right there with it and where it's going. Is that by design? Am I hitting that right? Is that part of the Noise Club signature?
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. I think we kind of always have just gravitated towards more minimal arrangements. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just kind of carried with us since the band days kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But also just like with reverb and stuff, I think I've always feel like really heavy handed with reverb. And so I guess it just kind of comes across that way. But
gotcha. When you go ahead, Dave.
The Adam Lambert song, that reverb is kind of spectacular. To jump on Herb's question, it seems to me that more often than not, you build a production around, if not a real instrument, a real sounding instrument. So like in the Hailee song, it was the guitar, and then you used what I thought was an acoustic piano, and so that gives the listener like a real kind of organic feeling, but then you slide in all the cool stuff on top of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a technique that I think is pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you.
No question. It's just a comment.
That one started off as a really, really stripped demo that we did with one of our favorite collaborators, Asia Whitaker. Mm-hmm. That we did in LA. And we just had like a very stripped kind of guitar vocal demo, and we brought it back to Brooklyn to our studio and worked on it a bit, and then sent it over. And then the Gray guys did the drop and everything, and kind of all came together from there. And that one moved very quickly. I remember from the time that we wrote it to the time that it was out and we were hearing it already, which is kind of a rare thing. Usually, it can be a year to 2 years sometimes, but this one was like pretty quick.
Really? Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. When you with you and Rob, detail out from a songwriter's perspective, what do you guys do differently and bring to the party, and then from a production perspective, how does it work?
I think kind of what you're talking about, where there's usually rooted in a guitar or piano or something like that. We almost always start writing the song and the production from scratch. We don't come in with something kind of prepared, so. It will either be, Chris will sit the piano, I'll sit the guitar, or we'll switch around. And it kind of usually starts there. And the beginning of the song is usually super minimal and, with a lot of care and focus on the vocals and the song itself and where it's all going. And then when we kind of, we get to a good place, and then we get together and we try to kind of just enhance that with the production. But usually it starts at a very kind of pure place and then, moves on from there.
One of the things, Dave, and I'll let you in 2 seconds, but one of the things I just have to lodge a complaint about is, Rob, you have way too cool hair and Dave and I don't. So I just want to put that up for the record. And now that I've done that, Dave, please ask away. No, Dave, don't try to copy it.
He's going for the part.
Yeah, and Dave, your wig may fall off. That's what a lot of people don't know.
I like you guys here.
Yeah, I paid money for this shit. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I'm a big fan of not working alone. I like to have one or two assistants that I really trust to bounce ideas off of. What do you think the advantage of of working with another partner or with a partner brings to the table, and what are the disadvantages of having another partner like Chris?
Well, I've always said I feel so fortunate that we get to do it together, because I think the hardest thing for me always through this is just all the ups and downs, and you can get in your head so much about everything.
Yes.
So if you kind of have someone at the end of the day that's, going through it literally the same thing as you, and you're on the same team, that kind of reassurance, and it kind of, keeps the focus, and you don't get too carried away with, or you don't get too excited or too down. So it just kind of helps level it out. And I don't know, and we've been playing in a band since we were kids. So, I mean, I know when we started this, you were talking about the disadvantages of people. It was almost having two people we had a lot of people in our band. We were like 5 or 6 people, and we would really try to all sit down and like write it together. And there's just a ton of opinions. And so 2 feels like, like that's pretty easy comparatively.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that's like the more people, I guess. But fortunately, I think we're usually pretty much on the same page. And I think the good outweighs the bad, if any.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like in his, oh, sorry, go ahead.
What, in terms of the division of responsibilities, how have you, you and Rob, do you divide those? Do you do certain things, he does certain things, or do you all do the same things?
I think really it's every song is different. It just kind of comes down to what's needed, we're both, kind of do everything, play a bunch of instruments and mix, vocal, produce and everything. But I think sometimes we specialize a little bit more in stuff. I know Rob handles a lot of the vocal production things that we do. I've done a lot of the mixing stuff for earlier stuff. But it's really just a sounding board though. That's the most important thing. I think what Rob is saying is that if we get to a point where we're not sure about something, just having an opinion that you trust right away to come in and get something over the line is really helpful.
One of the things that Chris and I were talking about before we came on air was this particular situation we're in now forces a lot of things on us that if you don't manage properly can get out of control. You're isolated. How do you record? Collaborations change. And I think it is critical, and we do this on the show on a fairly regular basis, that when guys that are successful like yourselves, or if they assume that Dave and I are successful, that we make it okay to talk about it. Because too many people suffer in silence, and that's not helping your life or your creativity or whatever the case may be. So I applaud you guys in being able to say, having a road dog helps you go through things and through the ups and downs, because what a lot of people understand is no matter how successful you get, it just creates bigger dips.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Your ups are higher, but your lows are lower. So I really appreciate it. What did touring, because you guys toured a lot, how did it inform your songwriting and your production, or did it?
I think it's been a few years now since we've been on the road.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it really just like our production's rooted in live instruments, I think. And kind of starting with that, with like something that just feels like a human element, whether like we were saying a guitar or piano or something, and then kind of building around there, into a more modern kind of production or something. But also just like how people react to something that you play live. And we see with a lot of artists that we work with, they'll say like, oh, this goes over really well, or maybe they'll even know a BPM that people will jump to or something. Yeah. They'll want to kind of work within those parameters to get something, because that's like the big test is you play the song live and see how people react to it, especially with DJs and dance music and that kind of thing too. So it's just something you always have to kind of keep in the back of your mind, like, how is this going to go over? Are people going to want to dance to this? Or is this something that I don't want people to dance to and just really pay attention to? And all of those things kind of inform how you approach the song and what you do with the production kind of thing. But
also in terms of touring, your production, what do you think is unique about Noise Club and Yeah, the second part. What do you think is unique, and then what do you think? Can you describe how that makes you unique?
I think we kind of have we like a foot in both world, kind of like when we were like young teenagers when we started going to the studio, and that was, you track the drums, you track the bass, and we, saved up, worked all summer, and then worked with, an actual producer, and and then later on we came out here and did a record when we were also a little bit older, but still relatively young, and that was, a month at a studio, and you got to see like the things that, like the guy we worked with, Jim Wirt, he obsessed over, tuning, like how in tune the bass guitar was, or, I remember we broke a snare, we had the bell brass, and he was like, "That's it, man, call it for the day." We can't record nothing until we get that snare. And we were younger, we're like, why does that matter, at all?
Right.
Like, there's so many snares, but just like those like little things and that meticulousness, and then guitar tones and things like that. And then when we wanted to start producing, obviously you can't afford all those things, so it's just like a laptop and a DAW.
Yeah.
But we always try to bring that to the table. So we try to offer the best of both worlds. That kind of production style when we were a kid, where they weren't really helping with the songs at all. They were just like recording it and coaching the vocal take, but it was more of the sounds and the sonics and capturing, and then mixed with what we do now, which is like a lot of times we'll start the song with the artist and we'll really kind of get invested. So I think all that kind of goes into our sound. It's a little bit of both, a little bit of in the box and a little bit of real world sort of stuff.
One of the things about your productions that stand out amongst a number of things is there is meticulous attention to the vocals. Because there's such space and minimalism, that vocalist needs to be able to carry the ball. Like, they've got the ball and they're running down the field. And I mean, I got stuck on Diana Gore, and I just couldn't. I was like, oh my God, like this girl is ridiculous. But so Rob, are you the vocal guy, or are you the one that is?
I mean, we both are. Like, I'll sit there and kind of in the earlier days, it was more like when we were in Brooklyn, because like a lot of our early stuff was artists that were first starting. So it was, just trying, and they could do. Chris went to school with a lot of them, so they're super talented singers, but how to reel it in or something like that. And so in the beginning, it was a lot of like kind of poking and prodding, and we, I'd sit there, but we both have, a lot of input, and that was probably from our days, working with producers that focused on that. Like I remember the guy first who did was punch word by word, which we don't like to do, but that was something that we did. But just that attention to detail kind of carried over. And I kind of think about it now, it's like, honestly, like with some of these, like the people you name, like they can just go, what I mean? It's actually more difficult now. You just got to give them like a little bit of something, and they'll take it and just run with it. It's more editing after, if anything, and then
or just stay out of the way of what they can do. Make sure that the song tells the story, and just coach them a little bit, but a lot of times, like Rob's saying, it's like there's so many good performances, and you have to just kind of pick and comp together what you want, how you want to tell the story of the song. But yeah, that's usually our approach, is just kind of produce around the vocal and let that kind of carry, because that's what most people listen to, honestly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the comp takes a long time. So
what was the vocal chain on Starving with Hailee?
That one, well, we did the demo with Asia and we sent it over, and I think it was Zedd was tracked the vocal, if I'm not mistaken, with Hailee and everything.
Okay, how about Adam Lambert? I love that vocal, by the way.
One. That one, I think, we actually did vocals a few different places for that. We did some of it at Westlake when we wrote it with Asia and Adam. And then I think we did something at my house. And we brought our mic to, so I think it was a Telefunken AK-47 into a CO1B, probably a C4 on there. probably LA2A, and then Pro Q, maybe an API as well, if I remember. But the reverb that we were talking about earlier was a spring reverb, just a UAD BX spring verb, and maybe a little plate too.
Getting
That's the
that
reverb
vocal.
on, that's the reverb on Adam Lambert. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I love that reverb. I'm gonna rip that off. just so you don't know.
If Lucas leaves his
I'll do
address,
the
I
show
have
for
it.
free.
If you need to go after Dave, I've got his address. So just have Lucas call me.
Getting that vocal was something kind of insane though, because we like wrote it at Westlake, and Adam was like, "Okay, let me just go, do a couple of takes." And everyone's different when you're recording them, but some people like Adam knows exactly what he wants, so he's in there he's like, more verb, blah, a little bit less compression, blah, more of this, blah, and then you'll like do that, and then it'll just rip, and it was just like, oh my god, and there was just like he was like just put it on loop, and he just like went, and it was just like
for like 45 minutes or so. It was, and we were just, it felt like 30 seconds, but it was just going. And that was one of the ones where we had to like, okay, these are all great. What are we gonna put
this
in there?
together? Wow.
It was like, it felt like, it was like watching like an Aerosmith concert or something. It was just like insane. And
well, what a lot of people don't understand is as you get more successful, because it's a smaller box, the talent gets higher, the delivery, it's just, as you guys said, sometimes you're getting out of the way of things, and it's just a little stimulus here, and folks know what they're doing, and you want to make sure their signature's in it. It's a different level that you learn once you get to that. In you guys' taste, who were some of your influences musically?
Oh man, I think I grew up playing a lot of classical music, like from when I was really, really young. And so I think kind of at the end of the day, when we're done at the studio, we will kind of listen to that and like kind of film scoring stuff. But I think probably recently, this composer Johan Johansson, I'm a big fan of. And then just like been into Fortet, his album that he released recently. Been going back and like into like Burial. There's this band No Life that I really like. That's kind of a mix of like kind of hardcore and electronic music. Just kind of random stuff, just whatever kind of catches your ear and it like inspires you. Like, oh, this is really different. I've never heard anything like this before. I'm a really big fan of Rosalia too, as far as more in the pop space.
Rob, what about you?
I'll kind of like just really dive in to, so I guess similar to Chris, just dive into things that are exciting. Like one of those things I come back to a lot is Mark Kozlik. He was in a band called Red House Painters in the early 90s. And it's kind of like, I don't know. He's just had a really long career. And at this point, his songs are just like him, like rambling about stuff. And for some reason, after a session, that's like very therapeutic for some reason. And I've been listening to a lot of Marvin Gaye recently. The I Want You album in particular, just because that's just seems like just so, I don't even know how to describe it. So I'm just like trying to wrap my head around that a little bit, and then just little things here and there. I kind of I'm trying to get back into like albums again, not like during this break. You know what I mean? Like I've just gotten on such like a singles tear, I guess, the last 5 years, where I like this song. Yeah. I'm trying to actually spend the time and kind of patiently listen to stuff again, which has been fun.
In general, what's a typical way that a song comes together? Like say, Starving, you had some pretty high level features on that song, and take me from inception to from inspiration. Do you tend to start with a drum beat? You tend to start with a lyric or a melody, and if you can pick an example, like either any song you want, and tell me how it all comes together, because I'm fascinated by that moment when you hit play and what comes back through the speakers is like, oh, wow, man. And everybody in the room is like getting excited and everything. But take me to the beginning of that moment.
Those are the best. Those are Starving wasn't like that though, just because we started that in the we were still living in Brooklyn, and we did a writing trip to LA, and we were here for a week. And we were doing the session with Asia at the Warner Chapel, their old offices. And they had that little studio there that was kind of in the middle of the office building.
Yep.
So we were just in there, and we had started an idea, and it wasn't clicking. So last minute we were like, let's just start something else. And Chris can continue from there, I guess.
Yeah, I remember we had like 45 minutes left in the room because they used to close right at 6 p.m. and kind of kick everyone out. And so just started playing this kind of riff on the piano real quick. And then Asia just right away started singing like the verse melody, and we all like really quickly kind of hashed out the song. And then we tracked the guitar really quick. I remember threw the amp in there, mic'd it up, and we weren't even gonna record it. We were just gonna do a voice note. And like, no, let's just do it real quick. Asia jumped in there for 3 passes, and then that was it. And we didn't listen to it again for another week or two because we still had about a week left on the trip. And then we got back to Brooklyn, like, oh wow, we really like this. And so we spent a little bit of time kind of massaging it, sent the demo to Asia, and she was like, oh, I love this. I don't even remember this because we did it so quick. And then everything just like moved really quickly from that. But it's kind of just crazy because it was done in the last 45 minutes before we got kicked out. And we could have easily just called it a day before that. I mean, like, you know what, let's call it here. But you're like, no, let's just try one more idea kind of thing. So you just never know kind of thing, I guess.
And it wasn't like that one in particular. We've had experiences where it is like just tons of excitement in the room. That one was just like, okay, we got it done in time.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like, and I'm trying to learn this because I can be a little bit slow. But it seems like those times when the creativity comes out and flows really quickly, and you don't try to edit yourself, but you just worry about getting it done and not worry about what it is. It seems like those moments tend to turn into good things in every form of creativity, whether it be a novelist or a painter or a music. Have you found that worked for you as a technique to try and do things a little more quickly based on that experience?
Absolutely. I think it's really easy to forget that. Like, I feel like I'm always become kind of a perfectionist, want to go back in and do it. But I think that's creativity in its purest form, is when you can't judge what you're doing and you have to do it quickly, and it comes out completely, free of your own judgment. And yeah, we'll do that sometimes, where we'll have in any session, if we have something that we like, but maybe not completely stoked on, we'll try to go on to do a second idea right away and do it really quickly. And so, yeah, a few times recently that's worked, where we're just really happy with the second one because you had to do it quick and no one can second guess it. And it just comes out easily. Yep.
Like no naysaying or no over editing. It's just, all right, here it goes.
I think that's,
move on.
Yeah, that's important in the creative process. I think over laboring can take you past the sweet spot, and then you just end up being lost. And that also comes with experience, where you can trust yourself, to let go and to trust.
It's also like trusting other people too, because like in the beginning, we were, like I said, when we were developing artists, we were kind of the experienced ones. So we were the ones who you kind of like try to take extra attention and kind of look out for the people you're working with. But Asia, who we've worked with a ton since, it's like she can, especially out in LA, like the people that write, everyone is just so good. So if you just like, it's almost like you don't have to, that's like the funnest thing, is when you don't kind of get in there and try to micromanage every little thing.
Absolutely.
That's like something that comes up that you would never imagine. So
yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Sometimes letting go of the reins is exactly the way to get the horse to ride to go correctly.
Yeah,
totally.
Speaking of artist development, which is kind of part of you guys' DNA, where did that emanate from, and how does it manifest itself?
that was kind of our beginning before we signed our deal with Warner Chappell, and when we did, it was all just based on that. When we had our studio in Brooklyn, we were working a lot with Jake Ottman, who signed us to Warner Chappell. He's at RCA now, and he was that really kind of gave us the space. And I went to school in Miami at the Frost School of Music there. And it was just crazy going to school there to see all these like really talented people that were amazing singers and stuff, but maybe didn't have a very clear vision or direction of like what kind of artist they want to be. And so it started there, just writing with people. And then a lot of the people that we ended up working with in Brooklyn, we kind of took just what we thought they were good at and kind of developed and crafted a sound around them. We had this whole system of, at the time, this is probably like 2013, 2014, of getting things on Hype Machine, which at the time would get things onto New Music Friday. And so we did this with a bunch of acts, and then we ultimately ended up doing our deal with Warner Chappell based on that kind of thing. But again, it was just kind of, you know, taking a singer that we thought was really talented and then writing a song with them that we thought could kind of be one of the first few things of their identity, and then just kind of trying to scale it from there, really. And that was kind of so even now when we're working with artists that we have in the last few years, we still try to take that approach.
Something that's unique to them or something. And also back then it was largely out of necessity. Like we were, we just started like the band, our band stopped, and then Chris moved to Miami and I moved to Brooklyn, and Chris was going to school and I was kind of doing odd jobs. I was, you know, working at MTV. I'd drive a truck around and I'd PA like, you know, concerts and things like that. And and we were both kind of independently. We were like, all right, we kind of started writing and producing a little bit. And then we're like, all right, let's try to do this together remotely. We got like a mega upload account. Remember that? And we were
forgot about that.
That's like Kim.com, right? That guy like got taken down, but so there's some files of ours that are just lost, I guess, or maybe they're seized by the government.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were just sending stuff back and forth, and just like, I don't even know what we were trying. I think we were trying to do like get some like, you know, spots or something like that. I think we were so jaded from not making any money playing music for so many years. We're like, well, this is our time to do this.
Yeah, get some syncs and some ad stuff.
And we tried that, and it turns out that's super difficult and very competitive. So we were like, all right. And then we were taking things off of Craigslist, you know, just like, and literally anything. So then like we couldn't get sessions, you know what I mean? So we were just like, and then so Chris had this pool of talent of kids he went to school with, and, you know, so we would go in, like we would, you know, spend a month plus on a song because there's nothing else, you know, every single day. And around that time is when we met Jake Ottman, and he was in between jobs because he was the one guy in publishing we kind of knew from the band days, and we happened to bump into him in a restaurant when Chris was up for like spring break or something like that. And he was like, "You guys want to start a studio?" I'm like, just, you know, right, you know, like the next time we talked to him, we're like, "So you guys got gear?" "Yeah, we got gear." Just had like, you know,
I remember he called me. I was like in musicology class, and I was still in Miami. I had like 3 months left at school, and he's like, "Yeah, you got gear? You got to move it in like this weekend." And I was like, "All right, I'll be there." Okay. And I'm like in Miami at the time. I called Robert after. "Rob, you got to take all our stuff. You got to move it to this storage unit." And he's like, "Why? Like, it's going to be a studio." And then for a long time, it just like lived as a storage unit, and we all kind of worked together and soundproofed it. And that was really the beginning of everything
and a lot of stuff begins that way. People have no idea the accidents and the happenstance and stuff that ends up in hindsight looking really cool. But when you're going through it, you're just holding on and praying.
Yeah. Looking around, what are we doing?
There was a CrossFit gym across the hall from us, so there's just like someone dropping a huge, you know, tire or something like that.
Dropping a plate, your speaker's picking it up and shit.
Yeah.
We had a friend that worked at Nylon Magazine. He was like the video producer at the time or something like that. So he would get acts for the magazine, and we would record them there. And we would just do the sound, and then we'd have a party at night. It was just like literally anything we could do. But around that time, in between that, it was just be like one artist and just really just go over the top. And then, you know, like budgets and everything, Chris would mix almost all those early projects, and like all out of there, this big echoey room. So I don't know, that was kind of it for a long time. And then, you know, that turned into our deal. But even after that, even after we signed, it was still that. It wasn't like this huge jump. It was, you know, we signed our deal and we were just still chugging along, doing our normal thing. And then we got invited to Warner Chappell does a camp in Vegas, and one of the guys couldn't go for 2 days, so we got the substitute call. And we came in.
Subbed in.
Yeah, we did 2 sessions, and on the last one is we worked with Diana, and we wrote the song "Woman," and that was the first one we did with her, and she released that as a single on 4AD. And kind of after that kind of piqued the interest of the West Coast Chappell office.
Yeah. And that was around the same time as Starving and stuff too.
Yeah, it was on the trip right after that Starving happened. So we got the invite to start coming out here a little bit.
And then we were like, oh, I guess we do pop music now. We're doing
exactly. We didn't know we did, but we are.
Yeah.
Given the sonic landscapes and stuff that is part of your production, is film scoring or in that space, is that part of the future?
I'd always say like the retirement plan would be to film score and mix and like scuba dive. But that's always that's something that's
all thought out. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something we dabbled in a few years ago. But I think that's something we both would definitely love to do more of. I think a lot. I don't know. Sometimes things feel kind of cinematic. Just to kind of naturally gravitate towards. So I think it could be cool. But yeah, we'd love to do more of that for sure.
Now, Dave, are we doing Batter's Box? You got a Batter's Box for these guys?
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys familiar with Batter's Box? Have we gone over it with you?
We watched a few.
Oh, okay. I never assume whether people know the show or not. But all right. Well, you know, you guys are booking boys, so you don't take pity on anybody. Your job is to knock Dave's block off. So don't put on any LA affect. None of us are from LA. We just all live here.
Yeah.
Right. So speaking as the Canadian in the group. So Dave, why don't you fire away and let's see how the boys do. I think they're going to be good.
Okay. Going back to the Brooklyn, New York thing, they don't sound like they're from there. I'm not really sure that they're from there.
No, it's in the way they do things. It's not in the way they sound.
Oh, okay.
I don't sound like I'm Canadian.
We're about an hour north of the city we grew up, so
there you go.
But yeah, it's definitely kind of softened a little bit over time.
Lost their accents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to attempt to throw them off a bit, Herb, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
All right, here we go. Major or minor key?
Minor.
Loops.
Just stick with Royer 121.
Strymon.
Vocals.
CL1B.
Performance.
Nice.
Microphone.
Wonder Audio CM7.
SM5.
Eurosynth.
I want one. Eurorack.
Intimidating.
Yeah, Eurorack. Yeah, really. 808.
Tube Screamer guitar pedal.
Fuzz.
Favorite EQ.
Fab Filter Pro Q3.
Pultec.
Auto-tune.
Sometimes.
Evo.
Tempo or BPM, favorite?
115.
Mid.
Live drums.
1176 nuke setting.
Coleman's.
Compressors. I think we know one of the favorite compressors.
Yeah, I think I'll say CL1B again.
Yeah, 1176.
Okay, not counting children, dogs, spouses, or hard drives and computers. If your studio caught fire, what one piece of gear would you try to rescue?
Say the Rhodes, but maybe the Prophet. Now that I'm thinking about it.
It would depend. It would be a guitar. One of the guitars that's in there. Either I have an old Jaguar and I just got an old Strat. I guess those two would probably be the ones I would try to snag.
Nice.
Good stuff, guys. I concede defeat. That was really good.
There's one more question from me. Your favorite pro audio show on the internet?
It goes without saying, I think. You guys.
Someone's place.
We just have self-esteem issues, and so we need to get love. So we call this Zoom love.
We've been watching
Dave
since early.
Up, two things we just wanted to say. It is so nice to have people who are musicians who are also pushing the envelope and, making us listen to things that are different and combining idioms, and here's live stuff and here's electronic stuff. And please continue to do that. That is, where there's so much music, a lot of folks don't understand it's even harder to stand out when there's, your choices are just a click away. And you guys consistently do something that I think the success denotes how many people enjoy what you're doing. And it just feels like you're true to your own ideals. And also in a collaborative way, you find space for the artists and the other co-writers to. So just from one guy, it's most appreciated. Please don't ever stop and keep pushing the envelope.
Thanks so much. And we've been big fans of you guys too for a long time. Like neither of us have had any formal engineering training at all. In the beginning, it was just those producers that Rob was saying that we'd pick up strips from, and it was into the layer that we honestly just learned all of our, engineering chops from the very beginning. Nice. So that we are grateful to you guys as well. And Dave, I think at one point we might have FaceTime a long time ago. We're working with an artist, Estero. And I think she FaceTimed real quick. And we were in the back like, Dave. Like, yeah, but she's a real
shout out to Estero. I love Estero.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that the appreciation of that is, we always are, we've been doing it for a long time, but we're always checking our guests to see that the value is still there, where we can go. So know that you can utilize this platform whenever you want. You got something coming out, you got friends, just text us, let us know. We'll pop you on here. And, our audience loves the advice and the fact that they have access to you, and feel free to use it. Sometimes folks don't know how big of a service it is. So absolutely thank you for your talent, and thank you for coming on. And Dave, why don't you take us home?
Okay. Guys, I've said it before, and I think this is a good time to reiterate. The music business and making records that millions of people want is a team effort. There's a whole group of people at the label that have to do their job. There's the creative part where guys like we're interviewing today have to do their part. The artist has to do their part, producers, mastering engineers, and in my opinion, the most important, mixing engineers. And so I think it really proves what we've said a couple of times, the importance of having someone to work with. It's a team effort, and bouncing ideas off of someone you trust is a really great way to get to the top. Think about it, and we'll see you next time.